We are live. So what are we going to be talking about today? Essentially, self-awareness. It's the cool word. Obviously, Gary Vaynerchuk was bringing it up many years ago. Everyone's saying, oh, it's self-awareness. What does that mean? I don't understand. And he didn't really give, he just said, I'm very self-aware. Okay, what does that even mean? Thanks, Gary. Understandable. I think that was one of the reasons I actually started unsubscribing from Gary is that he is good. First, I actually disagreed with the social media aspect because people are obsessed with social media, and obviously he says people are going to do what they're going to do. That doesn't make it right, okay? People are going to speed, doesn't make it right. People are going to smoke tons of pot, drink, smoke cigarettes, doesn't make it good. But one aspect I was always trying to figure out was self-awareness because he kept on bringing it up, and I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, what is this intangible thing that this man speaks of? So finally, over time, unsubscribed from him, started this triathlon training and everything else. And when you're training for something, and obviously if you've played a sport or even if you're studying for a test or anything, and you in other words, when you have a goal, okay, this is the best way to explain it. When you have a goal and say you're studying for a test and you're pretty far along studying for that test and then you take a practice test, you're like, I could have done better. I should have known that, okay? So that self-awareness is very basic because you're saying, I studied for 3 or 4 months or 5 months or whatever the case is, and I know I could have done better. Or you're training for a marathon or something like that, and then you have one of those long runs, and you just don't feel 100%, and you say, I could have done better. I wasn't hydrated, or I didn't stretch out, or my pace could have been better, my breathing could have been better, my form could have been better, whatever the case is, and you break it down. And most people would have that intuition that I could have done better before even seeing the results, before seeing the outcome. The outcome is I know what my pace is on that per mile on a run, or I know my test results before I even get them back because that's intuition. Self-awareness is even deeper. Self-awareness is saying, I showed up to this test. How did I feel going into the test? Was I well rested? How was my nutrition? Was I alive? Was I awake? Was I joking around? Was I focused? As you're taking the test, am I getting easily distracted? Am I going into deep work? Am I going into flow? The same thing when you're coming to a run. So the easiest way to actually break this down is that last week I came down with sniffles, okay? I don't like to say a cold because it didn't sideline me or anything else. Maybe it would have sidelined other people, but it is what it is. And when I was going through the sniffles or the colds or whatever, I was saying, okay, how did I get this? Most people would say, oh, it's the winter. It's the winter, okay? I know I've convinced myself that I do not get sick. So when I get sick, I say, which it's literally been 5 years, since I've actually gotten sick. Probably, I've maybe missed a day of work because of being sick in the last 5 years. So I've convinced myself of that. So when it happens, it's rare. And then I say in my mind, okay, what led up to this? So most people would say, it's the winter. People get sick and they just accept it. It's like, no. You're old enough that your body has a lot of defense mechanisms against the basic common cold in the flu season, which is all bullshit. God, we're being sold so many lies and people just accept it, okay? Confirmation bias, there's this is actually a great book as I drop it. This is the book of the year already. Just finished it, The Power of Agency, book of the year. I'll do a book review on it in a bit. But in there's a bunch of biases. So when it comes down to me getting sick last week, I said, okay, what led up to this? Okay, I went for a run when it was about 40-something degrees. I had shorts and a t-shirt on, and I started sweating. That was probably it. So next time I go for a run and it's 40 degrees, I'm gonna have something that I could either take on and off. I could have something that's wool, which is better than cotton, and then it's sweat wicks, okay? So what happened was I got sick, and then that deteriorated my training because I had the sniffles. My body was trying to get rid of this whatever was going on in my body, so I wasn't training as well. I wasn't training as fast. In the pool, it was tough because imagine having a cold and you have to hold your breath while you're going a distance, while your heart is beating faster, that's swimming, because you're breathing, and then you go down and you have to hold your breath, and then it's being clogged and everything else. So I wrote in my notes to my coach, because I have this whole training platform, and I was like, that was the worst swim. I don't ever want to get sick again. And then what happened was I noticed how much I atrophied. My muscles atrophied literally in 48 hours. 48 hours, my muscles atrophied. I started going back to the gym and I was a little bit sore and everything else. What does this have to do with anything? So with self-awareness, it comes down to, okay, if I don't want this to happen again, okay, that could be anything. I don't want to go and get rejected, or I don't want to keep on calling people and they don't want to do business with me, or I'm asking for referrals, or I'm waking up late, or I just feel constant drowsy in everything that is leading to an unhappy life, unhappy relationship, whatever the case is that dialing it down. So I was in the pool this morning, and there's a warm-up set, and then there's a closing set, and then you have the main set. So the warm-up set, nice and easy, just get the muscle firing and things like that. My warm-up set was terrible. It was awful. I literally almost had to stop. 300 meters to me is nothing. 300 yards, 300 meters, whatever you want to call it, is nothing. That should be a basic warm-up set. But I was so tired that I literally, so when I was done, I stopped by the pool and I looked at my watch, and it was all right, the timing, but I went through my brain literally as I'm in the pool, and I said, what is leading up to this? What led to where I am right now that I'm tired at a warm-up set, okay? Most people would say, oh, I didn't sleep. I went back, I said, I got plenty of sleep. I went back further, I said, how is my nutrition? Well, I went home on Saturday and Sunday for Mother's Day. So what I'm really getting at is when you start reverse engineering, okay, you can actually, there's an egotistical method behind doing this and not doing it. Ego says, you know what, I messed up. Do you understand how hard that is for people to say nowadays? I messed up. I either drank too much last week, I didn't work out over the weekend, I could have slept better. That's ego saying, I accept I have this whole ego thing, but I need to change the way I go forward. A lot of people say, it's the winter, I should get sick, or it's just a bad swim session. Reverse engineer anything that happens good and anything that happens bad, okay? The practical tools is, as it's happening, go deep in your body and say, why do my legs hurt while I'm running? Or why does my shoulder hurt? Why am I feeling groggy? Why do I have to open my mouth when I'm breathing instead of just breathing through my nose? Which is an amazing book that I've heard many people talk about, which is Why You Breathe, or Why We Breathe. Or no, I'm sorry, it's called Why We Sleep is the other book by Matthew something. Oxygen Advantage is a book I'm gonna get involved in. And the reason I'm saying all of this is that change happens from reflection. Change happens from reflection. That is the only way. Nod your head, yes, or yes, yes. Okay? Ray Dalio says anytime he goes up and then he fails, he reflects and goes up. He fails, reflects, and then goes up. And that's the only way. We have to reflect. I had one of the best runs last week. I said, okay, what happened? My nutrition was on fucking point. I was in flow because I wasn't thinking of the finish line. I was thinking of each individual step. I was thinking about my form instead of, holy shit, I'm about to run 15 miles right now, or I have to bike for 4 hours and do 5 hill repeats and do 4,000 feet of elevation, which is a lot, at least for me. And through that whole thing, I said, why am I actually biking correctly? Why am I feeling good? And honestly, through that reflection, you then take that into the future, okay? And I cannot bless you with the definition of insanity. If you keep doing the same thing without reflection, you will get the same fucking results. The same results will happen in your life day in and day out if you have no reflection on what was good and what was bad about every single thing you want to do that's important in your life. If making calls or approaching someone that you want to do business or saying hi to that person you want to potentially date, what was good, what was bad? Did I hesitate? Did I not hesitate? Was I too in my head? Was I not joking around? Did I Every single sales call, even last week, I have a guy that's making sales calls with me. He was there, and we left one of the appointments, and I said, that could have went a lot better. And he's like, what? That looked really good. I was like, no. I'm like, I should have built deeper rapport instead of went into their needs and their wants. And then when they're in their needs and wants, I should have shut up and listened more. Okay, every single moment, reflect and say, okay, what could I have done different? Okay, it sounds so basic, but I can tell you right now, that is the only way. And I'll leave you with this other nugget of information that I actually just came across, and it was from Will Smith. Will Smith is writing a book through Mark Manson. Mark Manson is the guy that actually just came out with a book. Let me know if it's good. I have about 6 books on my on my whatever the heck it is, wait list that are sitting on my whatever. And then whatever. I'm going to go over that in a second. But Mark Manson is writing Will Smith's book and everything else. And Mark Manson was talking to Will Smith, and he said, all this shit is going on. I'm writing your book. I'm writing my book. I have kids. I'm traveling a lot, blah, blah, blah. And he asked Will Smith, what do you do when you're overwhelmed? And Will Smith said something very interesting. He said that he just overwhelms himself whether he knows he's going to handle it or not. He overwhelms himself. Back in the day, he would overwhelm himself. And Mark Manson says, please talk about it further. And he said, when you overwhelm yourself and you can actually handle it, or you even can't handle it, you understand that at one time, you're this close from handling that overwhelm. Okay? You're so close. So overwhelm in my life is having too many listings. I have too many clients. I wake up and I have to answer all these emails while still getting business and servicing business. And then I'm also training on top of that. And I have to sleep. And yes, I don't have a kid and a wife and things like that. But essentially, Will Smith, listen to what he would do. So he shot Bad Boys with Martin Lawrence, okay, back in the day. He was also doing music, and he was also Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's a lot. He was filming a movie, a show, and rapping at the same fucking time. That's crazy. So the studio for Bad Boys went to Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and they said, listen, you need to promote this in Europe. I don't know if it's going to be a hit or a flop, but you guys should go out there. This is the difference. This is the difference, okay? Have you heard of Martin Lawrence? Probably. Have you heard of him like lately? Have you heard of Will Smith lately? Yeah. Why? This is the reason. So the studio went to both of them, and Martin Lawrence said, I don't think it's going to be good. I'm too busy. They're not going to view it. Doesn't go to Europe. Will Smith, after he's filming one of the segments or shows or whatever for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, flies to Europe, promotes the video or promotes the movie Bad Boys to whatever television shows and talk shows and events that were scheduled, then flies all the way back to LA. And then the next day films Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he flies back out, and then he comes back. Do you think that's a little bit of overwhelm? Okay? You think filming and promoting, 8-10 hours of flights and then flying back? Okay? So this is the difference, is that Martin Lawrence did not want to do that. Will Smith overwhelmed himself, and he actually was able to handle it. And what happened? He then took his career, and then he, on the next one, listen to this, on the next Bad Boys, guess who was paid more money? Will Smith. Why? Because he was willing to actually do things that were necessary to get the movie promoted and to be successful. Martin Lawrence, not so much. So for me, what I took out of that, I said, holy shit, I have 9 listings right now. This is the most I've ever done. And I just started saying yes, but I wasn't saying fully yes. Okay, there was a couple of listings I could have gotten, and I'm thinking back now, I'm like, I put it out into the universe. I said, who can help me at these open houses and things like that? And then someone raised their hand, DM me. So for us is that self-reflection on saying, holy shit, I can handle it, and now that's your new baseline. That's your new baseline. I can handle that social pressure. Social pressure comes in the smallest thing, which is sitting in silence. Sitting in silence while you're talking to someone. Be comfortable in that silence. People understand someone that can comfortably sit in silence is able to actually take more social pressure than someone else. okay? This is crucial in negotiating, selling, influencing, managing, attracting someone, because whoever talks first loses. So if I ask a question and I talk to just pop that tension, guess where it's going? Your direction, your way instead of my way. All right? So self-reflection has to occur every single day, moment to moment to moment. Okay? And then on top of that is be okay with being a little bit overwhelmed. Be okay with putting away things that you know are bad for you and insert good things. You can't just pull away, say, alcohol or going out or social media or TV without replacing it with something. And I'm telling you right now, 1% better, that's it. There is no quantum leap. Last week, I literally this Sunday I have a triathlon. In the week or 2 weeks after that, I have a real long, hard one, okay? And I was pretty down last week saying, I trained for 3 months and now I can't even do 300 yards and I have to swim 2,000 yards without anything around me, getting kicked in the face in open water by other swimmers. I'm like, fuck, I wasn't happy last week. And then I started self-reflecting, okay, what worked? Okay, we got to dial in the nutrition. We got to dial in the sleep. We got to make sure that we're training. Go for form on your swim and on your run. So hopefully that helps. If you guys have any questions, obviously leave in the comments below. The next video is probably going to be about power of agency. Highly recommend you pick this up. It's not an easy read, okay? So if you don't have your big boy pants on, then don't pick it up, because you're going to bitch at me and say, oh, blah, 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 it's so basic and everything else. But if you actually read the book by these two guys, you know, the first part actually pretty much spells out everything, which essentially talks about that there is a consistent overwhelm. We exist, you know, there's a couple of bullet points. I'll just list one of the bullet points. We exist with a constant buzz of worry and anxiety that we're not doing everything we're supposed to be doing. This creates a negative feedback loop in which we can't get things done because we're anxious, and our inability to get things done makes the list grow and grow, leaving us more and more anxious. So essentially, we feel like we should be doing more, when in fact, we should be focused on doing less and focusing on the right things more and pushing all that other bullshit out of the way. All right, that's it for today. Have an amazing day.